Hopefully that's working because this is the first time I've had two people recording. Yeah,
I'm not hearing the message that it's being recorded, but
yeah, that's because we already got a message when Mark started.
okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. So it's we can share.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to welcome everyone to Boston 9/11 Truth. Today is Thursday, November 14th, and we have a very special guest. Ray, known as Mr. Netherlands or Mr. Explosives, but Ray is anything but explosive in his demeanor. He's very thoughtful and methodical. Of course, his research is rather explosive, but I think he's done an amazing amount of research. And why don't you tell us a little more about yourself, Ray, and we can get started.
Yes, I'm Ray Kraaijenhagen. A lot of people have problems pronouncing my last name, but I'll go by Ray, and leave the surname to whoever wants to call it. But I'm an interior architect designer, and I do a lot of projects that require thinking. So I'm really a rational guy when it comes to the world, and I see that you can blame a whole group, but most of all, it's one person at the group, the leader, often that makes the group seem evil. But it's always this one person. And so I came from Occupy. I was studying Occupy, and then I came into contact with 9/11 and all theories. And I was really taken by Dave VonKleist in plain sight. I thought he had a really good, not his total analysis, but he had some really good points. And I think that the first loose change, the first one. It's the second and it's the first one you have to see. It's the flash before the crash. That's what Dave VonKleist said. It's really interesting. But it's 9/11 for me is become a year-long search for truth and how do you define truth? What is truth? But it always comes back to what happened on that day. So I want to take you with me to that day of 9/11, because I think we have to look at it with other eyes, with eyes of that we were deceived right in front of our face. I'll leave it at that. So I'll start sharing the screen.
Yeah.
And then
There we go.
we all can see this?
Yes.
Okay. These are the most uninvestigated words of that day. And it's really important to know that these words were spoken by the perpetrators, wherever they were, whoever they were. But these words are from the perpetrators themselves. This was spoken by a male voice. We have a bomb on board. And that's been critical in my thinking about 9/11 is bombs. What are bombs? How do they work? What is a plane crashing? Is that a bomb? Is it the same as the bombing of Gaza? What is bombs? What is explosives? So I'll take you to Wikipedia. We can all look at Wikipedia and try to understand what is an explosion. An explosion is a rapid expansion in volume of a given amount of matter associated with an extreme outward release of energy, usually with the generation of high temperatures and the release of high pressure gases. High pressure gases. Explosions may also be generated by slower expansions that would normally not be forceful, but it but is not allowed to expand, so that whatever is contained, the expansion is broken by the pressure that builds up. That's where a car tire blows up, whatever. The container cannot hold the pressure. An example is also the like volcanics, but supersonic explosions are created by high explosives. Supersonic. They are called detonations, and they travel through shock waves. Subsonic explosions, that's a less powerful explosion. Subsonic explosions are created by low explosions through a slower combustion process known as deflagration. And that's really the two. You have a detonation and a deflagration, and they both can be seen as explosions. So that's the kind of, you have high explosives, like bombs. You have slower explosives, like a burning jet fuel. But now it comes, how do we define things? What do names? So that there's something. Most fires we see are diffuse. It's diffusion. It's burning with the air, the molecules of oxygen, and that's a burning process. So combustion, and I'll have to wait. Yes, and then here, deflagration is a subsonic combustion in which pre-mixed flame propagates through an explosive or a mixture of fuel and an oxidizer. So jet fuel and the oxygen from the air, they kind of deflagrate. And it's you see it also on the picture. You see this pyrotechnic deflagrations. That's burning fuel, and it's burning. So you get this ball of fire. And detonation, it's the thunder. It's more powerful. It's a type of combustion involving supersonic exothermic acceleration through a medium. And it drives a shock wave. It propagates directly in front of it. Detonations propagate supersonically, so through shock waves with speeds of 1 kilometer in a second. 1 kilometer in a second. And that's the speed at which these shock waves travel. And they differ from deflagrations, which have subsonic, so they're slower, and that's 1 meter per second. A detonation is an explosion of fuel-air mixture. Compared to a deflagration, a detonation doesn't need to have its external oxidize. That's the air molecules around the combustion process. Oxidize and fuel mix when deflagration occurs. Detonation is more destructive than deflagration. In detonation, the flame front travels through the air faster than sound. And that's really important, because if it travels faster than sound, that's when we hear the boom. The sonic boom we hear when an explosion goes off. It's what all these people in Gaza every day hear. Detonations. These are detonations. Bombs. Nanothermites. Nanothermites. Just look it up in Wikipedia. It's a very small article, but it's a very interesting article. Nanothermite. MRCs, or super thermites, are generally developed for military use. Propellants, explosives in this incendiary devices, pyrotechnics, military applications of etc. You can read it for yourself. But the most important part is when is it used? Potential use. And then you hear and you read something that nano energetic materials can store more energy than conventional energetic materials and can be used in innovative ways. Thermobaric weapons, thermobaric weapons, and they're being used now in a lot in the Ukraine, but also in Gaza. Thermobaric weapons are one potential application of nano-energetic material. And that is nano-energetic materials. Then they talk about nanothermates. It's the aluminum and in this process they use it as an additive. And the additive is enhanced blast explosives. You can look it up, enhanced blast explosive. That's thermobaric weapons. And this is how it works. You can also read it, but also you see the nanofuels. Nanothermite is nanofuels. It's used in these weapons. This is Gaza. Gaza, at night a bomb is dropped and the whole surrounding is lit. This is a bomb. This is not a jet falling onto buildings. This is a destructive force. This weapon is designed to destroy. And you see a lot of on the outskirts, on the left-hand side, you see this burning matter. And also in the middle, you see this small burning. And that's the metallics burning. These explosives contain metal or aluminum that are in this explosion. This is another example of Gaza. Look at the explosion. It's bizarre. This is posted by Israelis. You know, the sign on top is clear who is posting this. But this is also being blown up. But this is actually a controlled demolition. You can see that it's all over the building. But this is a bomb. This is the result of a bombing. And then smoke rises from an Israeli airstrike on a residential building in Nuseirat in the central Gaza Strip. And what do we see? What do we see? We don't see the flames anymore. We see the building is demolished. It turns into dust. The concrete is really blasted apart by the pressure of this bombing. And then I have to go down. These are the 4 planes of 9/11. And they're in the you can see the numbers of the airplanes and the types of the airplane. These are flown. Flown is the first one. The first plane hits the first building, and this is a security camera, and it was taking pictures in it's not a video, it's pictures. But I posted two of these pictures, and you can see that clearly that this dust that is associated with bombing. You have to have a lot of power to destroy the concrete into dust, and not an isolated piece of concrete. The whole floor and the floor above it, and that floor above it, and that floor above it, and the walls, they were all blasted out. It was actually gutted. Where the plane went in, the everything on all sides. Eh? This is this. I can show a video where it's on all sides. On all sides of this building, it's blasted out. And if you talk about squibs, like architects and engineers, they talk about squibs. These are squibs. These are squibs that the biggest squibs of the day.
Monster squibs.
Yes, yes. This is second plane. You see how big it is in relation to the building. This is a seven 67 Boeing, and you see the tower. It's not it's all in perspective. The perspective of the big these towers are massive, and the plane is also massive, but it's actually, if you think about the fuel it has on board. This is also a very nice picture I found. This is not a lot of people have seen this picture, but it's a very special picture. I can maybe try to zoom in. Yeah, I'll zoom in. I'll zoom in. This. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But this is strange. This is strange. And then goes in. And this, what you see here, is it. If you take a closer look, we can look at the pressure. It's coming from multiple floors outward. But it's also on the you have this haze on the edge of the pressure wave is here. It's the pressure wave. This is a detonation. It's not a deflagration, it's a detonation. It's the pressure. And then we go look from the other on the side. And you see how far this pressure wave comes out of the building. It's massive. But also what it takes with it. It's the amount of dust, it's the amount of destruction being done at that point in time. It's amazing. It's really. This is another picture of you see in the. Can you see my marker? No, huh? You cannot see what I'm doing. I was
Yes.
I was trying to explain with the marker on the screen, but it's not working. But
Well,
We
I'll.
can see it.
I
It's
can see
small.
little.
Can you see this in the air?
Yes, we can see that.
That I'm moving this marker in the air.
Yes,
Okay.
very small.
Yes, yes. I'll try to make it a little bigger, like this. This is what happened. This is what happened. Look. Oh, I have to go back. Yeah. This is actually the what we see here is a dust cloud on the south side. We see in this picture we see this orange burning flamey ball of fire. That's the jet fuel, the remaining jet fuel. And then under that we see a kind of raining down of a lot of fine material. And that's the ejection material from the building. And that's the floors are shattered. People shattered. Everything which was in the vicinity of that explosion was blasted to bits. You can see it here. You can see the destruction of that building. And this is from far. You can see how massive it expanded, because I just look at that picture, look at how big it is, and then I'll go one back. No, wait. Yeah. If you this really amazed me how big it was. The explosion is so big. and it's raining down. And that's a strange thing. The explosion happened, and this is after the explosion. It's over in seconds, and this is it. It's a burning building. So everything happened within seconds. The burning of the jet fuel was 3.5 or 4 seconds. But the destruction was never ever investigated. This is the destruction. This was on the street. And this is a sidewalk where the fireman is walking, is a sidewalk. And then we have on the middle is a street. And that's you cannot see the street under the dust. This is before the towers came down, and this is after the attacks. And you see the firemen walking, and if you look at the video, you can see the dust coming off their shoes. It's a thick layer of dust. I think around this place it must have been 3 to 4 centimeters of dust. Dust. It has to come from somewhere. Pieces of paper. Everybody talks about the paper. Why was it not burned? It was blasted out of the building. It's now time to burn. All file cabinets were exploded. No, this is from the attack. All this paper came from the attacks. But it's not only paper. It's building material. It's plane debris. It's human debris. It's in there. This is from the South Tower. We're looking at the Tobin Plaza. And on the right, you have the stage. You see the right, the stage. And that's North Tower behind it. But look at what's lying in front of this building. It's this thing. What we cannot, this. What is this? What is this? What's this? Where did it come from? Why is it so small? What is it? I have to go back. No, yeah. This was blocks away. I've searched the location, and it is really 2.5 blocks away from the to the southeast. This was a street, sunny day. Very, very nice photo if you think about how the sun was that day. But if you look at the street, my heart is shocked, because what we see here are also plane parts, human beings blasted to bits. They're lying on the street.
It's out of place.
I have pictures that, no, I'm not going to go into them.
Go back to that one. I just want to make a comment, if you can.
Yes.
Yeah, that fashionable lady on the phone with her hat, she looks so out of place.
Yeah, no, but everybody looks out of place, because what took place there is out of place. What she is normal. The day was normal, but what happened there is out of place.
Well, everybody else.
I'll continue, because
yeah, I just thought that was really weird.
yeah, no, it's very strange picture. I agree. This, but I'm not. I do not. I see different things. But this is from the NIST report. This spot to the south of and roughly 690 feet from the south face of BTC-1. Close inspection of this panel selection was released when the spandrel connections failed. The bolts of the edges, through the edges, at the top and bottom of the section. But it's not important that they're describing where it came from. And that's the most important part. Where did this panel, because it's a panel, I'll come back to it later, but the Twin Towers, the perimeter of the Twin Towers was designed with panels, and these were stacked, and these went 3 stories, and they were stacked and then they were bolted together like this and like this. But these panels are a modular system, and it's this panel which was laying on the street next to the church. Uh, Extended from the middle of the 93rd floor to the middle of the 76th floor. So that's where it came from, and it came from the south side of the North Tower. So that's you can look it up. It's in a NIST investigation. I was really curious because this is very far from the Twin Tower it came from. I'm going to go back to the picture. I don't want to. Okay. Where it came from, and we have this church, and we have the bird flying. You see the bird in the sky? That's approximately where it came from. So it came from this place, somewhere here. And you see on the other side, on the south, you can see the panels, the different shades. You can see the clearly how this was in here. So this is kind of a panel here. Okay. And I look for a picture that was looking approximately from that spot down to where it landed. And that's about here. I'm going to zoom in. Here. That's where it landed. I'll explain it. And here I have another picture. And then it's, it's not working. But you can, it's far. This is in the Wikipedia, talking about these panels, prefabricated panels. Each of the modular pieces typically weighs 22 tons, 22 tons, and was 10 feet wide and 24 to 36 feet tall, spanning 2 or 3 floors. This is a piece I found. The load-bearing outer columns mounted day by day. The wall is erected in prefabricated panels with vertical columns already welded in horizontal spandrels. Here is a 20-ton unit, 36 feet high and 10 feet wide, and is being swung into its place. 22 ton. This is a piece of this panel, and he's looking in. So you can get an idea with the person surrounding these panels how big they were and how massive they were. This is also from the cleanup, the picture of the cleanup with the blowtorch, and you see this panel laying there. And it's 3.5 or the 2.5, 3 stories high. But if you compare them to the human beings, they're massive. This is from the first investigation which was done into the steel of the Twin Towers. And it was done by Mr. Astane. And I think he was working for FEMA at the time. And he has made a very, I thought it was really quite thoughtful of him. He was pointing to this also piece of the outer perimeter, an explosion. And most importantly, this is the signature of an explosion. And I was thinking, what's the signature of an explosion? Here, the signature of an explosion here. This has happened due to the explosive material hitting this column and making that bulge. So you see the bulge, maybe a better one, but and the fireproofing on this floor, but it's He made, but this is this bulge. You see this bulge in this um, column. And he said this is the signature of an explosion taking place. And this was from the South Tower. He was talking about the South Tower. On the north side, and it was also very curious. Okay, but this panel, this is the Twin Towers you see, North Tower, then you get South Tower, and then you get this. I'll get it. Okay. Now you can see it. This building here. You can see that one small one? You can see my pointer?
Yes.
Okay, but this small building, but the church is here. This church is here. So it's in front of that building. So here again you have the North Tower, South Tower, and the Marriott Hotel, and then you have on the right of that this I think it's 1900 style building, and here too. But it's you can see the distance. It's quite a distance. 690 feet in it if you from point to point, but it has to travel also downward. And just showing you how, if you look at the massive towers and you think about this panel, and this panel came from the 93rd floor, and it ended up in the front of this 1900 building here.
Wow.
So it went over the hotel. It went over the hotel, over the hotel, and then it came down here. It's a parking lot, fast park. And here you can also see it. It came from here, the panel here, and it went down. Okay, whoa, down here and ended up here. And this is the construction. You can see these panels put in place. And this is a corner connection, but you can see how massive this steel structure is. This is another one that you see the distance between the North Tower and this 1900 building. And here's another one. You see this 1900 building, and then you see the hotel, and then the North Tower and the South Tower. But there were more explosions on that day. It was not only New York, which was rocked by explosions. In Shanksville, there was also a very big explosion. Massive explosion, shook. The town of Shanksville is 5 kilometers from where this explosion took place. But the people living in Shanksville and experienced the shaking of the earth. And they heard this loud boom. And that's the result of this explosion. Fire trucks came, and there was no real fire. Brush fires, they said. Brush fires. They encountered brush fires. And not much visible plain, they said. And a big crater. Big, massive crater. And this is kind of from the side, you can see the woods in the background, the field in the foreground, and then the earth. It's rubble. This is the forest. Picture of the forest, and the forest was hit hard. It was hit hard by something, but it didn't burn a lot. It was hit hard. And you see the red flag in the middle. That's looking for human remains. And human remains, there were only 8% of the total weight of passengers and crew was found. 8%, 92% of the people were not there anymore. It was never found. They still do not have an idea how that exactly happened. But 92% of people on board that plane was never found. The biggest part of human remains was 2, 3 vertebrae. It's in the back. It's a column. It's this big, this big.
Mm.
It's the Pentagon. Also an explosion, a massive explosion. Sounded like a 2,000-pound bomb going off half a mile in front of you. Massive explosion. So, what do we know about these explosions? Where can we find the science behind the analysis of these explosions? Does it exist? If you look at the NIST report, what happens here is not written in a NIST report. They say, yeah, we don't know the blast pressure, but we calculate in our head, kind of in the wind, it's fuel burning, so it must be this. No, that's not reasoning. It's looking at it. It's looking at it. So we know very little about these explosions. So coming back, detonation velocity is also very the speed at which these explosions take place. A typical detonation velocity of organic dust materials range from 14,000 to 16,500 meters per second. Gas explosions can either deflagrate or detonate based on confinement. Detonation velocities are generally around 1,700 meters per second. It can be as high as 3,000. Solid explosives often have detonation velocities ranging from beyond 4,000 meters per second to 10,300. So there's a whole range of explosions. But the most two we have to keep in mind are deflagration and detonation. Because there are two groups. One doesn't blow up a building, and the other one can blow up a building, a detonation. And coming back to Astana, because I've looked a lot what he was saying, and this is it's actually the most important thing he discovered. So you can see that when the building was burning, there was no fireproofing. It appears that it may have but I think I cannot read it. Blasted away, I think, but can I make that smaller? Blown away by the blast. So then we have actually two things. We have flammable and we have explosives. Jet fuel is flammable. Explosives, they destroy buildings. You cannot destroy a building with jet fuel. It's impossible. We have some planes. We have a bomb on board. The words spoken by the perpetrators. And then I want to let you listen to 9/11 because I think that's the most important part of this exercise is, let me see. Oh yeah. I'll first let you hear what bombs sound. This is Gaza. And I think this is 2014. Doesn't matter. This is a bomb.
وقع البرج وقع البرج البرج كله وقع رشدي كل البرج وقع
This is 9/11.
Où ça? Où ça? Ah ouais.
I want to make a remark, but the last video, no, this is not the last one, but the one we just saw. How quickly the explosion, the burning of the fuel is over. And then you only see dust.
Let me know when you're ready for questions.
Yeah, I just have a few. Gone. All the fuel's gone. It's very quick. And I have, I think, two more. Oh, well, this one I wanted to.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Go! Get out!
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And one more. That was it.
Wow. Well, thank you. So Chris Berger has his hand raised. Go ahead, Chris, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay, Ray?
Yes.
Oh, good. So your contention is that a real Boeing hit the Twin Towers?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just do a quick screen share here.
I've seen it all. Chris, I've seen it
Yep.
all.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can see it. I just want to. Yeah, I'm glad you showed those spandrels here. So if you see this screen share that I'm showing, look at the bottom lower right hand corner of the plane and look at the plane's wing. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Well, no. Well, you can just answer my question. I just want to make sure that you think that this is real physics. You think that the wing is hitting those spandrels and just disappearing right in and not reacting with the spandrels at all. I mean, it's kind of like the spandrels. I mean, if they were knife blades, it would happen. But the spandrel beams are like 14-inch wide on 24-inch center, and the wing is coming in contact with maybe about 20 of these, and the wing is not breaking up and it's just melting right through. So I mean, you're 100% positive that we're not looking at some type of a very advanced tech like holographic technology.
I've seen enough plane debris and pieces of human being on the streets after that attack.
Yep.
And I've seen life jackets. I've seen the people wear these how do you call that? What you wear at home when you don't wear your shoes. How do you call that?
Slippers?
No, yeah, in the house slippers. You have this in the plane. You have these kind of slippers. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah. I mean, but
Yeah, if you
landed.
wouldn't feel comfortable and you go to a home and but these were given by the airline to passengers, and you see them on the street. I've seen enough plane debris on the street and on the rooftops and
Okay, well that's a fair.
if you can explain the plane debris how it got there, I've seen I think till
Well,
now
it doesn't.
I have at least 300 different pieces of plane debris I could analyze in the surrounding area.
Okay, and I just had a second part to my question. Are you familiar with Hurricane Erin on 9/11? Have you done any research on that?
I know the work of Judy Wood.
Well, this isn't the work of Judy Wood. This comes right out of the the Weather Channel and satellite.
I know where it comes from, but she uses it in her theory.
Well, I think she was the first one to bring it to our attention, but it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question: did you think if the hurricane wasn't there, did you think that there would be so much dust because the wind velocity and direction wasn't being controlled properly that you wouldn't even see the second plane hit the tower?
You saw this picture of this woman with the hat on, and you see that it's sunny. It's a very nice day in New York.
Yeah.
So there's no.
Well,
There's
did
no
you think that
there's no interference of the weather in New
Right.
York by this hurricane, which was on the Atlantic, I think.
But did you think that sunny day was fabricated? I mean, imagine if it wasn't a
No,
sunny
I
day.
think it was a real sunny day.
Oh, it was a real sunny. I just disagree with you. I think the sunny day was fabricated. I think the hurricane was used to steer the wind velocity and direction to make sure that all that building dust was coming off the tower as not to obstruct the second plane hitting the tower. Imagine if we didn't see the plane hitting the tower, the PSYOP didn't work. So the perpetrators definitely had some really advanced technology working for them. And I think we saw a missile. I think it was a holographic cloak missile. That's my opinion, and you're entitled to disagree with that. So
I know your opinion.
okay.
We have a couple other questions. Jim, go ahead. Jim, if you could identify yourself too. I think this is the first time you've been on the call, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. First evening here. Okay, Ray, I need to ask you a couple of questions with regards to what you have mentioned. You've just mentioned that you've got
Jim,
a
Jim,
lot
Jim,
of
Jim,
what?
Jim, you're not Jim. Are you
Yeah, I'm
you're
Jim.
from South, you're from South Africa.
Yeah.
But
So I'm going
it's
to
not a
ask you a
problem.
couple of
But
questions.
why use a different name? I know who you are, but it's Norman. It's not. But just be normal,
Yeah, so
man.
it's time for us to have a conversation
Okay,
and
ask me a question.
possibly ask a couple of questions.
And
So you've
I
just
don't think.
mentioned that you
No,
have
no, no. You're not open.
pictures of
You're not
people
open.
and
I do not like that.
everything of people that were passed of the planes. And let's just start with basic physics.
Ask me a
Okay?
question.
No, let's
No.
start with let's start with basic physics, dear
Ask
sir.
a question.
We're going to start with basic physics.
Oh, no, I know what
So
you think. You think you like Judy Wood and you don't like planes.
when we get
It's
to
fine.
the planes
Norman,
flying down
ask
at
me.
a
Ask me.
1,500,000 meters coming into the buildings, and you look at the impact studies and the planes being sucked up by the buildings, how can you explain the physics of the impacts on the buildings being sucked up? And there is a recent video of a Russian,
Drone
what do
flying
you call
into
it?
a drone. A
A
drone.
Russian,
Drone. It's a drone.
what you
You
may
can't.
call it?
I've seen a
Flip.
video.
The
It's a
English
Russian drone hitting a building.
is busy.
Norman,
Yeah,
ask a question.
a drone flying into a
Drone.
building,
Yes,
and you
drone.
can see the pieces of the drone falling off the buildings,
Yes.
and nothing happens to the buildings, but you can see the pieces of the um,
The drone hits the building, then
drone. Yeah,
there's an
it hits
explosion.
it,
You
and
miss
you
the
can see the
explosion.
pieces at the bottom, so it doesn't get sucked up by the building.
The, the
The other
dro-
aspects that you've got
um,
is the basic physics of
I am not.
flight
I do not
AA
like this.
five
I do
eight
not like you.
seven
I do not
flight
like how you
587
ask a
that crashed
question.
in New York City on the 12th of November 2001, that ended up breaking up due to the fact that the aerodynamics and the drag and the coefficients and everything that
Norman, Jim, whoever you are, you've had your 2 minutes. I'm gonna let Ray speak now.
Norman does not ask a question, and that's the thing. I want. You can ask me anything, but if you want to talk about your perception, I already know what you think because I know who Norman is. I already know that he is high into the Judy Wood. Not does not think planes were used, and that's his perspective. But ask me a question. But it's not impossible to ask, and that's why I cannot give an answer.
Okay, so next up we have Jack Bottomley. Go ahead, Jack.
Hi, I've got two things to say. First is just getting back to what Chris said, hit the wing hitting the building. If it was a lead bullet hitting the building, it would immediately flatten against the beams. So that the aluminum wings are soft. relatively soft, and they would just flatten against the beam and then probably push it in or break it if there was enough strength there. My other question is, do you think they used a hydrogen on the floors along with a barometric bomb? Because I've had a little bit of experience with hydrogen, and it explodes so fast and so strong. It's the fastest exploding of all the gases, and I just have concocted a theory of a barometric bomb with also a flask of hydrogen, an insulated flask of hydrogen liquid. And when the barometric bomb went off, it would release the hydrogen, which would then immediately vaporize and explode, and that would explain blowing out all the floors, so quickly as they come down with not too much flame.
Yeah, but I'm only talking about the attacks. I'm not talking about buildings coming down. I did not discuss that, and I'm not going to discuss that because I think that is not where my talk is about. My talk is about explosions by the attacks. So I'm not gonna go into 7. If somebody has a question about 7, I'm not gonna answer it. I'm not gonna answer how the towers came down. It's irrelevant for me. For me, it's about how these towers were initially attacked, how the Pentagon was attacked, and how a plane was fully destroyed in Shanksville. These attacks are so destructive and so under investigated by the FBI, whoever, and that's the thing that needs investigation.
Okay, next up we have David. Go ahead, David.
I'm not fully understanding your point about what has to be investigated. I have 2 questions, but this will be the first one. Could you say what the significance of, if proper investigation was held of the explosion, what would come of it? Why would it be useful in getting to the truth?
It was not done.
And what is your point?
NIST did not investigate the actual attacks on the tower.
NIST doesn't even actually investigate the destruction of the buildings.
I'm talking to David, so keep quiet, please.
So,
you have no idea actually what the investigation was about.
Can you keep quiet?
My concern is that the 9/11 Truth Movement helped prevent fascism, and because the authorities would not investigate some specific aspect, that's probably interesting. And how can that help us prevent fascism?
I think you have to investigate 9/11, and that will help a lot.
I mean, what possible could come of it? What's an example of how that could help prevent tyranny?
I think truth matters in every relationship you have on this planet. Truth matters, and that always is helpful in making a choice.
And what is the truth?
I agree with you.
Jim, please.
Jim, you interrupt one more time, I'm kicking you out.
The other thing is I want to make a request because I hold that planes hit the towers, and I'm willing to have civil dialogue, as I have had many times with people who say no planes hit the towers. And I remember seeing photos in the past that you or others have presented, maybe it was Magnus, of parts of planes that hit the towers. And it would really mean a lot if you would be interested in pulling together those conceivably 300 photos of plane parts.
Different parts. There's 300 different parts. I
understand. If that's something you could present,
maybe it's like, I'm not gonna convince people who think no planes hit the towers. It's if they do not have an explanation for all the plane debris and start thinking how did it get there? Because some of this plane debris was you could not pick it up by hand. It was so much. There were police tires, landing gear, fragments this size, like a coin, and a lot of them. A lot of the green primer fragments of aluminum plane. They were this size.
Well, I am very inspired to hear that you are familiar with so many different photos that
Yes.
show plane parts.
Yes.
And I'm the rare activist who does not hate people who disagree with me. Most activists, not necessarily any of you, but most activists throughout history hate people who disagree with them. And you will all know that's true. And it's a problem in our movement, as you know. And if you could
And that
provide,
is why you guys want to kick me off the conversation, because I'm asking questions you guys don't like.
and I enjoy civil dialogue with people who are willing to be civil, and that would help me. Even if you don't like doing that dialogue, I do.
Okay,
and-
be my guest. I'm not going to do it. I think a lot of. I think no. I want to explain. I think people can do their own research.
I hate research. I hate research.
If they look at, you only have to type in Google plane parts and you look in pictures 9/11 and you get a lot of plane parts that were there on the streets. So if you cannot explain how they got there, then you cannot say it was no plane.
I agree. There was a plane.
Okay,
So anyway,
for me, it's that simple. I'm not going to debate
thanks,
it.
but no thanks. You're saying you don't want to do that. I can't make
I'm not going to
you
do it. No.
That's fine. That's fine. I
Okay.
asked. That's all I wanted to do. Thank you.
Matthew has his hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on this debate on this plane topic. Well, one thing I want to ask if you've seen the space shuttle. I forgot which one. I'm just away from the computer, so I can't grab it. But if you've seen the space shuttle, one of the explosions, and they had I think hundreds of thousands of parts. So when you say you saw 300 photos, and a plane has 3 million parts, many of them are identifiable. So the question is, why didn't you see much more? And also. And regarding about
that's a question. Okay,
but also about
no. Wait. First, no. I want to answer the question. The question. First question. Keep it. Question. I will answer. Question. I will answer. Okay, that's simple. Why were there not more? Because they were so small that we do not see them. The planes were blasted to bits. To bits.
The space shuttle explosion, the temperature. When it went through the atmosphere, was much higher than any of the ones recorded on 9/11. It's in the thousands. It's
the temperature of the planes of 9/11.
No, of the explosion. Of the explosion.
How do we know the temperature of the explosion?
Well, you just look at what NASA says there. But
no. How do we know the temperature of the explosion on 9/11?
Well, you could have thermal cameras. I would assume there
were no thermal cameras, but how do we know the temperature of 9/11 explosion? We do not. We do not know. We do not know.
But we know afterwards it wasn't that hot. The paper wasn't burned.
It's not about guessing. It's not about guessing.
Also Edna Sinchron. No, I'm not guessing. Edna Sinchron was standing inside the hole.
Matthew.
So whatever the explosion wasn't hot after that initial part, and there's lots of paper everywhere. So the question is, again, the heat. There likely wasn't much heat even during the explosion.
That's assumption. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but you could base on it because people are standing inside the impact hole. So whatever it wasn't that hot afterwards.
I do not. It's not. It's.
Have you seen the people waving?
It's irrelevant, but what is relevant is that NIST, the body that made an investigation in this attack, did not investigate how hot the explosions were. It's really, that's number one.
Yeah, but you could just guess by looking
at it.
They did not.
Okay, they did not.
but you can just look at it indirectly, just from the
Yeah,
Edna's
okay,
standing in the.
okay.
So there's a person waving. Just have you seen that photo or video of the person waving
Yeah,
inside the
I
cafe?
know. That's a woman. She died, and she was standing in the.
For like an hour or so. She was
Yeah,
standing inside.
but where was she standing? In a hole on the perimeter of that the North Tower on the north side. He was standing there, but
the explosion went all
that
around.
hole was created by something, and that something was an explosion.
Well, if you look at it closely, the
And
first
there's no
impact,
explosion.
no,
There's no explosion.
the hole looks like it's
Tower
formed
is
after the
fine.
explosion.
The tower is fine, and then there's an explosion, and then there's a
No.
big hole in the tower.
But
That's
if you
how
look closely,
never happened.
if you look closely, again, I can share my screen, but I'm not on my computer. If
I
you look closely
know.
at the first impact, the holes formed slightly after the explosion. Like after the explosion, then you see this really bright red.
The hole is formed by the explosion.
No,
Absolutely.
after. If you look at it closely.
I think that's an assumption of yours, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Magnus is next.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Ray. Thank you for your presentation. I'm going to ask you about the Flight 93. Is it possible that the crater already was there in 1995? I have a photo.
No.
That,
it's not
okay,
possible.
okay. The explosion there in the plane, that you see the smoke in the air, and that it's not much from the ground. So I believe that's a very explosive force.
The explosion you see on this famous photograph, that you see the explode, the dust, or actually it's a smoke cloud, that a mushroom cloud they call it, and a mushroom cloud is also formed by a massive explosion in a very short time, and it sucks. The fire goes up, and it sucks everything with it upward, and then things fall down. And if you look at the crater, because the crater is also very interesting. How did this crater become a crater? And it's not formed by the plane. You can clearly see the imprint of the wings of the tail section in the ground, but it's a crater in the middle of this deformation of the ground, and you see that the material which was in this crater is no longer there. It's moved out to all the sides. It's blown out, and there's also the forest in the vicinity of this crater, that these trees were smashed over, and no leaves on the trees, but there's no real fire. But there's an explosive force took place there.
Thank you, Ray. And then you had the South Tower here, where the plane is hitting, and then you see the explosion before it hits. And then I have heard that the lobby exploded too at that point, but that's a very complicated thing. But what I'm asking about is outside the tower. You had very interested building material outside there. That looks also very much like an explosive force, that things were completely blown out.
Yes. Yeah, but not only blown out. If you look at that picture, which was in front of the South Tower on the south side, on the Tobin Plaza. If you look at I zoomed in, you can look at the fragmentation of material that all came out of the tower. It's these pieces and dust and people. I have pictures of the pinky of a person in that tower. Wow. People were blasted to bits.
Whoa.
And that's before the tower came down. These attacks were so incredibly powerful, and that's why I compare them to Gaza.
Okay, thank you.
Bits.
Okay.
Ray.
Next we have Wayne. He couldn't find his electronic hand, so go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, hello, Ray. Thanks for the presentation. I'm not sure I've got a question, but I want to provide a bit of clarification here. First of all, the plane that was, I guess Chris was talking about, melting into the side. If you take a look, the video that he showed doesn't have any resolution. You can't see windows, so there's nothing you can really say about it. The videos you showed of the second plane hitting actually had a lot of resolution and should be what he should be looking at, because there's resolution in that. Secondly, I agree that there was probably explosives within the Twin Towers, although the framework that I have developed is called the case for propelled demolition, in which I believe that there were panels on the inside and that they were activated upon impact. One of the very first excellent video photos you showed showed the North Tower being hit, and the side was blown out. The plane goes right through the middle of the core, but the side is exploded out. So that's a real good observation, and so I think that really speaks volumes to it. I kind of wrote a little bit about that in my propelled demolition paper.
I know.
The plane hitting the South Tower, again, I believe that hit and dislodged some thermitic panels that had the explosives that you're talking about, ignited some. Chris Bolin shows stuff he calls depleted uranium weapons that are flying off, but I believe that those are in fact thermitic material, kind of like David Chandler uses for the South Tower rockets, he says. So they're very similar. So I think that a lot of what you've put together related to the Twin Towers really does hold. And the other thing is about if you take a look at the plane impact into the building, you can actually see where the bolts were the things that broke. The beams, almost none of the permanent columns look like they have were cut through. They all broke and pulled apart and got bent over and bent. So those are actually really interesting observations. But then I think as you point out, there was some energetic material inside the building that then exploded, was detonated or whatever, and propelled apart various parts of the building. So that's good. I will, of course, I'm obligated to say that, however, at the Pentagon, it looks more like a deflagration, and I'm glad that you've made the difference, because there are things that fly away from it, but they're flying away at the speeds of 100 miles an hour, something like that, something like a very good softball pitch. You can see them flying across the lawn. So not a very high velocities, not like the explosions that you showed of the known detonation. So thanks for your presentation. And of course, I have nothing to say about Flight 93. I've never actually looked at it in enough detail to have an opinion on it. So, but thanks for showing this. Over.
Yes, interesting. I've read your work and I've listened to your presentation last week in Boston. So I'm well aware of how you think. But with the Pentagon, it's not about assumptions. It's about listening to people who were there. And this remark, it sounded like a 2,000-pound bomb going off right in front of you. Is really from a military guy who was there, and he describes a detonation, a bomb of 2,000 pounds, and I've seen the videos of how they use them in Afghanistan, and the pressure wave of that is I think he knows what he's talking about. So I will listen to him, and that's how I think that even at the Pentagon, a detonation, that's
Ray,
to say, no, wait, to say that a detonation took place there When buildings are destroyed to dust clouds by an explosion, there's only one way that can be done, and that's by a detonation. And a detonation is that there is a sonic boom. And that's the thing. We have sonic booms in the two attacks in New York. We have a sonic boom at the Pentagon, and the people in Shanksville, there was the kids sitting in the classroom. They had the ceiling tiles 5 kilometers from where it happened. 5 kilometers. They had the ceiling tiles come on their head. So that's also a detonation in Shanksville. And that's where I will leave it.
Well, I would like to ask at the Pentagon, with the external large, what you're calling a detonation, I'm calling a deflagration.
I know.
What damage do you see that you attribute to that?
I've seen the interior building material outside of the Pentagon. I have seen the fragmentation of the plane that is in the pieces. There was a person working on the highway in front of the Pentagon. He said the pieces of airplane, aluminum, he called it confetti, confetti. He said there were so many pieces that were the size of a dime. The size of a dime. The whole plane was blasted into confetti the size of a dime. And that's where the destruction at the Pentagon is not looking at the building, it's looking at the plane. And if you look at the plane, there was not a lot recognizable of that plane because it was blasted to bits.
So it was blasted before it hit the building?
No, it is simultaneously somewhere in hitting that building, and you can see it in the video. You can see it in the security cam. The plane comes in, it hits the building, and then there's a massive explosion. That massive explosion causes damage.
I'd like to see the damage you think it did, but
the windows blown out in the E-ring. The people that were on other floors, they were got smashed against the wall, They were nowhere near where that happened. The blast pressure inside of the Pentagon is massive. Massive.
Well, that's because of the trailer.
The people who were there, the eyewitnesses, the witnesses there in the Pentagon. There's a whole book about these people in the Pentagon, what they experience inside. And every time you read about this blast pressure, this bomb going off, they were smacked against the walls. They were hit by furniture, and they were not next to where the plane came in. That's it.
But your explosion that you're talking about, I believe, is far outside the wall. So it would have to be outside the wall and then go through the little hole and then do all this damage.
Outside the wall. Yeah. Do you have reason? I do not see that it's outside the wall. I do not say that.
That's.
I say the explosion is very, very destructive. That's what I say.
Well, the explosion inside the wall would have a very large outside horizontal component, but all it does is seem to go up and over.
No.
At any rate,
it goes out. If I've seen interior building material blown to the helipad, blasted. I've seen the building of where the I'm going to make it short because it's not visual, but there's this firehouse, and it's a firehouse, and there's a helipad kind of control tower thing. It's two buildings in one. That was hit by debris with force. That the windows were smashed into top. You see the imprint of material in this building. It was rocked.
There's also a lot of windows that were blown outward
Yeah,
because
also,
the air pressure from
air
inside,
pressure is a symptom of explosion. It's a symptom of it.
it's
It's
also a
not an
sign of
explosion.
a
Yeah.
trailing air mass and a large
I
insertion
know
of.
you're trading air mass, it does not exist, but I'm not going to debate that one.
Okay. Well, very,
I know.
thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
your conversation, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to move along.
Yes.
Three more
It's
questions.
too long now. I think it's we have how many more questions?
Three.
3. Keep them short because
Okay.
I'm also very tired and I want to not make it too long for everybody and think about your question. Keep it simple because then I think you can also take the answer.
Okay, David, go ahead. You have less than 2 minutes. You're finding your mute button, David?
Yes, my favorite part of Wayne's presentation about the Pentagon is the 6th chapter where he shows how the fuselage passed through the C ring and the remnants of the fuselage existed in between the C and the B ring. And so I don't agree that everything in that plane was broken up to as small as a dime. Have you
No,
seen?
no. That's true. Not everything. No.
Okay, very good.
No. I'm not claiming that. I've seen the rims of wheels. I've seen parts of where they transport luggage in these containers. This is kind of or these glass fiber. I've seen a lot of plane parts to know that it's not all dimes.
Thank you. I thought maybe I misheard you.
No.
Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. And next we have Al. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, Ray, have you seen the picture of the that was put out with the filing cabinet and the clock and it was a remaining room that had actually been sheared?
Mm-hmm.
How would you account for an explosion that would do that?
The shearing happened later. It was 47 minutes, I think, later after the attack that this wall actually it's if you have concrete buildings and concrete structure, you have a dilatation. It has to move, so you don't do one. So it's very normal to shear on that point. So there was kind of
was outside.
That's why it was so clean cut, because this part was still standing. This part is no longer. That's why it's clean.
Got it. Thank you.
I've seen it. I've seen the filing cabinet, and I've seen that picture. Yeah.
Okay, so next we have Chris Berger again. Chris, keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'll keep it a quick question. I just wanted to just show you one of the pieces of plane debris here and just have you comment on it. I'm going to do a quick a screen share. Let's see here. Actually, it's this one right here. Share. So if you look at my screen, John Lear is one of the most formal pilots. Experienced pilots, and he's a 9/11 truth researcher, and he said that the engine that was found on Murray Street, he analyzed the engine, and he said that the engine cooling duct appears to be from a 747, not a 767. And then my other question to you: do you think that the engine fell down and hit the Murray Street street sign, so that the street sign could be like planted right underneath the engine?
It hit first another building, then it came on the street, and it kind of rolled over there. What I have, there was one guy who did an analysis of how this engine, it was the right engine of the second plane.
So you disagree with John Lear's analysis that it's from a 747, not a 767?
It's from a 767.
Okay, so you would disagree with John Lear's analysis, and you believe that
I say it's from a 767, Boeing 767, because that's what I
Well,
it's so obvious that it's there because I've looked at ancient types and Boeing 767s, and I have the pictures of the engines of a Boeing 767 with the cooling ducts that are identical to the engine you see on the bottom side picture
yeah.
from Murray's Feet.
So
I do not see the complication in seeing that.
I just think that street sign was planted under the engine. I just don't.
Yeah, but you can believe what you want. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll take it at that. Thank you.
Can I say something, Sue?
All right, but we're running out of time. Go ahead, make it quick, very quick.
I just wanted to address Shanksville. The plane that crashed down couldn't have been going more than the speed of sound, 600 and something miles per hour, because there would have been a loud sonic boom. Started at 30,000 feet and went down, and a lot of people would have reported a sonic boom. And also, when
who mentioned that?
I just did. You said it went into the ground so fast that it was
No.
completely
No.
destroyed.
I know. I never mentioned any speed of a plane going into the ground. That's why I was. What I said that there was an explosion. Can somebody?
When there's a crash of a plane or whatever, there are parts on the ground that are still. You can find parts of the wing, parts of the gas tank, fuel tanks, etc. It never completely disappears. For example,
I've not seen a gas tank of that plane.
I'm not saying that part. Some parts will survive.
I've seen a tire that was not on the rim. I've seen two opening where the windows were without windows in it. I've seen smaller fragments. I've seen some parts of clocks, but I've never seen a big part. Somebody is has his mic open.
It's Jack's mic. He always has these problems.
Okay.
Yeah. So sorry. Sorry about that.
One more, please. Or
last question. Matthew is his hand raised again.
Yeah. So I'm on my computer now. I just want to share the screen just to see what your thoughts are on that first impact explosion. Like if you could just go slow motion and just let me know what you think of it. I will just share my screen if that's all right. And okay, it's on this window. Share. This is okay. So you can see my screen?
Not yet.
Is it showing?
You started sharing. Now it is.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll move it back a bit, and I'll just move it in front of myself. Okay. So the first one, this was the space shuttle I wanted to show first. This is the parts from the space shuttle explosion, and this was 82,000 parts being found. And they were able to even identify like the full shape of it. So that's one of them. And then this is here's one. If you can play it slow motion, I'll play from here. And then look at when the red impact hole gets formed. I'll have it slow down. Okay, so there's the explosion.
Can you go back to whole video?
Okay, I'll go back here. So there's a couple things.
Okay, yeah.
So there's the object again. Well, it looks like it's hard to tell from this just from this video. It's hard to tell.
It's not a really good video, but whatever. This is
but it also goes in. There's one thing. Okay, first of all, it goes in. And it goes.
No, then you get this flash. It's the flash before the crash.
Then it goes explosion after when it's inside. This is hard to see.
This explosion is remarkable, huh?
Yeah, but now what we'll see now is this. There's no now you're going to see some super bright stuff that seems to be separate from it. There's still not the hole. Okay, now there's the hole. This is
not visible because it's all blasted out. So
well, there's a wingtip right here.
It's visible only when the dust clears, huh?
Well, it looks like it's formed after. That's for my vantage point.
Is. I know.
So, like now you have a giant thingy there, and also again, like I said, Edna Sintron is standing there afterwards for like an hour.
What formed the dust cloud?
And there's also the firefighters that were inside while radio signaling within a minute before it fell the South Tower. And so that was that. And then this one here as well.
What is the question?
Oh, well, the question is, what are your thoughts on that? So you think that the explosion did it, or do you think that this is actually formed after?
Yeah, it's clearly an explosion, isn't it?
No, I'm saying that the hole, does it look like it's being formed after the explosion or right on?
I think that explosion contributed to the whole. It's kind of
no, it could have contributed. Yeah,
simple.
but
There's an explosion and then there's a hole. So is that explosion creating that hole? Where did these pieces? You know, a lot of people think that it just is a plane shape, but it's not a plane shape. The towers are built up. This exterior is built up from panels, and the panels are bolted together.
Yeah, and they were cut off as well.
No, they. May I? They
oh yeah, go on. Sorry. Go on.
May I?
They
sheared at where the bolts were. You can see it, and you can see it's not a plane shape. It's a rugged shape where a plane crash took place, and not only a plane crash, a massive explosion. And the massive explosion is the one thing NIST did not investigate.
Okay. So yeah, speaking about that, I can share actually the screen here. I have the hole there. So when you said that it was sheared off, from the photos, it looks like there's actually the wingtips cut off some of the columns, and but also if you look at it, barely any of them are actually indented. It's hard.
Show them.
Yeah, I have it there. I'll share my screen.
This is the last one we're going to talk about because I'm very late. I'm in the Netherlands and it's very late here.
Okay, let me know if you can see
maybe
this one. I'm sharing my Telegram.
Had your supper and you're full of energy, but
oh no, I haven't eaten yet. I haven't eaten yet. I just finished working out. That's why I was away from my computer.
Very good.
So if you can see my this is the
I see it. Yes.
Yeah. So you can see there's actually there's actually some cuts in the actual columns there, but also there's very little actually pushing off. So the bolts are also the strongest parts, and it looks like the bolts were removed, not pushed off.
It's a lot ejected out of that building. Huh? It's a lot of force.
Yeah. And then here's the NIST one. It even shows some columns cut off. Even the spandrel the spandrel plates also cut off.
Yeah. If you have this picture, this is the investigation done about what happened damages, and then you can piece them together, and then you kind of bend over. Yes. But this one is sticking out in the middle. Is sticking out. There's a lot going on here. But if you think about this explosion, what happened, it's that what caused the damage. And there you have the woman standing on.
Yeah, and there's Edna Cintron right there. Yeah. So the explosion did have a play. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, so basically I wanted to show that, and also the columns, it's not dented inwards. Barely any of them are dented inwards. Some of them are bent outwards. So that was that, but it's just more of a statement of your thoughts. But that's all for me. That's all for me then.
Okay, I already gave my thoughts on it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I'll stop sharing. Yeah, stop sharing. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, that was a lively evening.
How long did we take? Well, 1.5 hours? Of the 1 hour 20?
Yes.
Okay.
So
it had to be short, but it went on too long, I think.
Yeah, I'm afraid that always happens because everybody's interested. And it was a very good presentation. I thank you for giving us so much of your time. And I look forward to publishing this video. I think you're going to be happy with it. And thank you again, Ray, for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me, because I've done it very, very long, and I've read a lot of people, and I listen to everybody who talks about 9/11. Even if I do not agree with them, I will always listen to how they think and what their ideas are. But what I presented tonight is actually that the attacks were more powerful than ever explained by any official story. Period.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Ray. Very good.
Yeah, thank you, Ray.
I'm going to stop.
Thank you, Ray.